All right, so we're going to talk about giving righteously. And, probably all of the gifts have already been bought and all the things have already been done, but that's okay. I think it's kind of a way to maybe think about this in the future, too. I think what's troubling is at this time of year, the whole world is telling us that we need to buy everyone we know presents and to spend all of our money and make sure that everyone will really love us, especially jewelry commercials. They play that card pretty hard. They make you feel real bad if you don't buy your special someone something real expensive. And I think it breeds like this kind of sense of entitlement. People expect it. They think that their Christmas is going to be destroyed or ruined if they don't get something that they really expected that they should get. I can't remember where I saw it, but I saw like this skit that was on some late night show. I didn't watch it on the late night show. I think it might have been like on the news in the morning. But anyway, they played it. And it's these kids and their parents swapped out something cool for like an oven mitt or like a sock or like, a pencil or something. And then the kid opened the gift and was like, and then they saw this mundane, like whatever dollar store item that was in there, and they were screaming and crying and like their lives had ended, and they were cursing at their parents, all kinds of horrible things, like how dare you do this, and like my Christmas is ruined forever. I was like, this is such a sad state of affairs that this is what we're turning our kids into. I'm just thinking about it, and I just think it's sad. Because that's not what giving and that's not what this time of year should be about, right? I mean, we shouldn't be, cursing someone out because they didn't give us what we wanted. It's terrible when you think about it, And of course, if someone's love is predicated on what they get out of you, then that's really no kind of love at all, is it? But rather, it's a self-centeredness, and it's based on greed. Yet the retail industry perpetuates this myth because the month between Thanksgiving and Christmas represents as much as 30% of a store's annual sales. So you think about that. And they call it Black Friday. And you might think it's because it's doom and gloom and there's like all these, this legion at Walmart, and like people are trampling each other to try to get a $50 50-inch screen television, But that's not why it's called Black Friday, because it's a horrible apocalypse, but basically that these businesses are operating in the red, a deficit. They are not making money until Black Friday, so they go from being in the red to moving into the black. That's the day that they start making real money. So that's when they become profitable. And with so much riding on company profit, it's no wonder that these manufacturers and these retailers will do anything in their power to get you to buy something, and even guilt you into it and make you feel like a horrible person if you don't. And from a Christian perspective, showering people with money, gift cards, toys, electronics is not truly what giving is all about, Sure, it doesn't hurt to give somebody something, a little something to let them know you care. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong inherently with giving somebody something because you care about them. But I think we need to keep it in perspective, right? How should we give? It should be more genuine, and it should be more meaningful. Our kids, like mine in particular, shouldn't feel like they won the Fisher-Price lottery. That's not what it's all about. Although they may feel a little bit like that. I did try to rein it in myself, knowing, when I talk about these things, I'm like, you know what? I'm going through this toy store, and I'm like, I want to buy this, and I want to buy this, and I want to buy this, and I'm like, whoa, what am I doing? I got to stop myself. So a lot of this stuff that I talk about up here, I'm really talking to myself, and sometimes that hits somebody, and they're like, hey, that really was speaking to me. But I think that's because people are people, and we all have, we were all struggling with some of the same things. So I'm like, you know what I need? I need somebody to talk to me about giving in a righteous manner. So that's why I'm talking about it now. So what we should be thinking about, or how we should be giving, this is like more of a real perspective on giving, right? In Matthew 25:34 through 36, he says, then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me." So this passage says that people giving in these particular ways are blessed by God, right? What are they? Feeding those who are hungry, feeding the hungry, and giving water or something to drink to those who are thirsty, right? Things that really matter to people, right? Providing shelter to a stranger, giving clothes to people that are cold or naked. He says naked in here. I was naked and you clothed me. And you see these coat drives. These are all really great things, and soup kitchens, and these are the things that truly matter and make a difference in someone's life, right? And visiting the sick and people in prison. And you might be like, people in prison, well, it's always good to visit anybody that's in prison, but a lot of times people were not in prison because they killed somebody. It might be because they stole some bread because they were starving, or it might be because they couldn't pay somebody back because they had debtor's prison back then. You imagine you didn't pay your MasterCard premium, so you have to go to jail. That was a thing back then, right? But you notice that there's nowhere in this list is anything close to the kind of excesses that retailers try to put on consumers or people, right? No, rather this list respects a spirit of providing the basic material necessities of life, doesn't it? And those who give these things receive God's blessing, but those who do not find God's reproach, right? I think there's a similar sentiment that we can pull out of this scripture in James, James 2:14 through 17. He says, "What use is it, my brethren, if someone says he has faith but he has no works? Can that faith save him? If a brother or sister is without clothing," right? Talking about clothing, "and in need of daily food," again, we're talking about sustenance to live, "and one of you says to them, 'Go in peace, be warmed and be filled,' and yet you do not give them what is necessary for their body, what use is that?" Right? I mean, if you really have faith in God, you trust in God, you're going to help people, you're going to trust that God's going to take care of you, you're going to go out on a little bit of a limb, even if it hurts you, to help somebody else, right? You're going to share what you have with somebody because of love. Even so, faith, if it has no works, is dead, being dead by itself. And, it's hard to listen to some of this stuff because, I think inherently we don't want to put ourselves at risk to help somebody else out. But James is saying that that's what your faith is all about. You're testing your faith. You're testing the fact that you're going to trust in God and that God's going to provide. God's going to take care of you. He'll get you through to the end if you do the right things in life, if you help people. And it's all about eternal life anyway. This world and our temporal bodies, all that stuff is something that we need to try to look past. We need to look past materialism and stuff. So it is right and good to give these types of material gifts, food and drink, right, to people that are in need, shelter to somebody that is in need of it. And we should even seek out opportunities to do this, right? Because James also says, to him who knows the right thing to do and doesn't do it, to him it's sin, right? He says that too. But anything beyond that, to go beyond this, isn't necessarily a biblical thing. And I'm not going to say that it's wrong, like before. I'm just saying that it's our giving spirit has to be based on our faith and based on our love. But what we should keep in common in the back of our mind is our giving excessive? When I was a kid, I was spoiled pretty bad, actually. I'll be straight up with you. My grandmother would save money all year, and we'd get up on Christmas morning, and my parents and my grandmother would spend this insane amount of money. I didn't value my toys, didn't care about them, played with them for 5 minutes, lost them outside, because I had so much. I had so much stuff, and this is a long time ago, back in the 80s. For some people, that might not be that long ago, but I had so much stuff. It would we just didn't have room for it all, and I don't barely have any of that stuff anymore. I didn't take care of it, didn't care about it. I just got so many things, and it didn't mean anything to me. They'd spend hundreds of dollars on me for Christmas every year. Both of them would, and it didn't make me a better person because I had all that junk. It made it hard when we didn't have any money, actually. My mom quit her job, and it was like the apocalypse, But we have to be careful not to breed an attitude of ingratitude, because, that stuff that I watched on television, I bet I was just like those kids that screamed at their parents for not giving them exactly what they wanted, It's hard to, it's hard to look at yourself and be like, yeah, I was kind of like that kid probably. I don't remember exactly, but I can't imagine that I was so much greater, So showing somebody love is not buying the most expensive things. It's not encouraging gluttony and avarice. True love in all its forms is willing the good of the other and then acting in a way to make that happen. So what is the best and the greatest good you can do for somebody? And that's not always giving them everything that they could ever want, all their heart's desires, right? It doesn't take the form of contributing to someone else's sin. And when I was writing this sermon, I was reminded of this story, and I don't know if you remember it, but it was a few years ago. I think it was 2013 or 15. I can't remember, something like that. But it was this guy, and they nicknamed him Affluenza Kid in Texas, right? And he was drinking and driving and had a history of drinking and driving, and this guy was a teenager and still had a driver's license. I don't know how that was possible, but anyway, his parents taught him that having money afforded some people special privileges, and that's how he was brought up, and that he didn't understand that he wasn't allowed to be irresponsible and kill people. And he had no remorse for the people that he had killed. He killed 4 people because they were working on a car that had broken down on the side of the road, and he was drunk, and he ran over 4 people, and he injured 9 more. And his lawyer told the judge, we can't hold this kid responsible for this crime because really it's his upbringing that's the problem, and you can't hold that against him. And the judge agreed. An Affluenza Kid didn't go to jail for killing those people and injuring all those people. He got probation. And he just kept getting more and more things, and he didn't learn his lesson because he didn't go to jail, and he broke his probation. And he eventually broke his probation, ran to Mexico. His mother covered for him. They eventually caught his mother, arrested her. She went to jail for 6 months, and I think he ended up going to jail for a couple of years. But he got everything that he ever wanted. His parents made sure that he never suffered anything that would hurt his fragile little ego in any way whatsoever. He got everything he ever dreamed of, and he turned into a ruthless killer that didn't care about anybody else. It wasn't like he was maliciously trying to kill people. He just didn't care that other people were existing around him. He didn't care about their lives. He was like, these are ants. If I step on one, what's the big deal? That's how he treated human life. He didn't even show remorse when the judge gave him probation and he didn't go to jail. Unbelievable. But that was because his parents gave him everything. Didn't hold back anything. That's what happens when, we treat our kids that way. It doesn't do good things for them. Sometimes giving someone everything that they could ever want can destroy them. And it isn't loving, and it's actually cruel. Love is giving people what is best for them. Best for them physically, but more especially best for them spiritually. Love is being compassionate, it's being kind, it's being gentle and forgiving. Love in giving is being an encourager. Love is putting others before self and teaching that behavior, humility. This guy that killed these people didn't have any humility at all. Love is teaching these things to our children and other people we come in contact with. And I'm going to make a plug for the gospel too, just so you know. Love is telling people the good news about Jesus Christ, right? And I think we can think about it this way. If you provide food and clothing to a person, if you provide shelter and everything that they need to live, and you don't share the gospel with them, then what ultimate good will you have done for that person? Ultimate good. Immediate good, sure. A good thing to do to help people, feed them, give them water, give them shelter. You would have alleviated their fears and gave them comfort, but you would have denied them the most important thing of all. And that is the knowledge of eternal salvation. Not sharing the gospel is not loving because we are denying them salvation. We cannot be ashamed to give people life-changing and life-giving knowledge. It says in Romans 1:16, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God for salvation to everyone who believes, to the Jew first, and also the Greek." So how can we share the gospel in a nutshell? I'll give you a quick suggestion, and we actually had an evangelism class that had a little thing that you could carry with you to do it very quickly, and it's handy. And we still got some of those books kicking around up there if you're interested in that. But the gospel is this, that we've done evil, and we've all sinned against God. We all fall short of the glory of God by our wicked actions and our evil thoughts. We committed evil. We subjected ourselves to eternal death and darkness. Despite the fact that we rebelled against God, by doing these things, God continues to love us anyway. He finds us precious, and He wants to save us. And He loves us so much that He sent His Son, Jesus Christ, to be with us, to be our spiritual Redeemer, our rescuer. Jesus paid the debt of sin and redeemed us from eternal death by sacrificing Himself on the cross and taking our punishment for our own evil actions upon Himself. And that if we believe and trust in Jesus Christ, if we repent of our evil ways or the bad things that we've ever done, and earnestly seek to do our best and live righteously, then we can be baptized into a new covenant with God, the covenant of love, forgiveness, and life. And if you haven't yet been baptized or come to Jesus Christ, but it's on your heart to come forward today, then I want to encourage you to come forward as we stand and we sing our closing song. What will you do with Jesus?